Alrighty, folks, usually my producers torture me, but today they've decided to reward me for my good behavior during this last election cycle by showing me the media's best meltdowns during President Trump's win.
So Democratic voters snap into a Slim Jim out of it. These guys are obvious liars. Fire them all! Fire them all! And if you don't, okay, then keep losing to buffoons. All the stupid donor money, all it's ever done is lead to more losses. So if you don't fire them, you have no one to blame but yourself.
I think the favorite part of that clip is that things are actually on fire behind him.
The aftermath of Donald Trump's election win in 2024 delivered some of the most surreal and theatrical political meltdowns the modern world has witnessed. Ben Shapiro, known for his sharp wit and relentless logic, has taken the time to analyze these infamous moments. From exaggerated fears of societal collapse to dramatic public outbursts, Shapiro breaks down how these reactions highlight the pitfalls of a deeply emotional, woke ideology.
Why do you think they keep losing? Loser. You think they keep telling you how smart they are and how they're going to deliver you victories, and all they ever do is deliver loss after loss after loss.
All right, folks, let's take a trip back to the night of November 8th, 2016. As election results rolled in and Trump was declared the winner, progressive media personalities and political figures alike spiraled into disbelief. First, we had MSNBC's Rachel Maddow visibly shaken, suggesting that America had chosen chaos over decency. The tone was grim, as though the country had collapsed into an apocalyptic wasteland overnight.
You guys tried this with Tim Walz. You literally tried this. You tried to get a dude from the Midwest who could carry a shotgun and supposedly talk about football. He wasn't good at either of those things. And you tried to pass him off to the American people as a good old boy. And you know what happened? Everyone went, nope, not even remotely close.
I am a man.
Also, let's be real about this. I love the buyer's remorse here. So it's our fault. It's our fault that she was a black woman.
She's not even all black.
That you decided to run.
Next, CNN's Van Jones coined the infamous term whitelash, framing Trump's victory as a racially motivated backlash. For Ben Shapiro, these narratives didn't just misinterpret Trump's win, they outright dismissed the legitimate concerns of millions of voters. Shapiro pointed out how disconnected these media elites were from the average American, mocking their inability to grasp the frustration brewing in the heartland.
If she were a 6'4" white man from Arkansas or from Florida, and she ran a good middle of the road campaign talking about reaching out, do you think she would be losing by that much?
Yup.
If she chew tobacco and carry a shotgun and talk about football and be a guy's guy, I mean, you tell me.
You won't believe this one, folks. Several celebrities and commentators proclaimed that Trump's win marked the literal end of democracy. As Ben Shapiro observed, this wasn't just hyperbolic, it was absurd. Comedian Chelsea Handler sobbed on live TV, claiming she had lost faith in America. Meanwhile, Hollywood elites like Madonna and Lena Dunham promised to leave the country, though, unsurprisingly, none of them followed through.
After Donald Trump's victory, thousands of Americans are planning to pack their bags and move abroad. Google search data shows U.S. citizens are actively researching how to move to Canada, New Zealand, and Australia.
Shapiro didn't mince words here. He highlighted the hypocrisy of privileged celebrities lamenting their oppression while broadcasting from multi-million-dollar mansions. For Shapiro, these meltdowns underscored how far removed these individuals were from the working-class voters who had propelled Trump to victory.
Among these people could be Hollywood celebrities like Sharon Stone, Cher, and Jimmy Kimmel, all of whom declared they would leave the country rather than live under a second Trump presidency. Our next report brings you more.
President-elect Donald Trump's victory wasn't a happy ending for everyone after all.
The Women's March in January 2017 became another hotbed of woke meltdowns. Organizers and speakers painted Trump as a tyrant, intent on stripping women of their rights. Madonna famously declared she had thought about blowing up the White House. Shapiro didn't let this one slide. calling out the blatant contradiction of promoting peaceful protests while inciting violence.
Terrible night last night.
Speak for yourself, motherfucker.
It was a terrible night for women,
The women.
for children,
And the children, too.
for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go.
Can we pause it for a second? Okay, for women, for children, for immigrants. For children, I noticed that you're totally fine with killing them in the womb. Totally fine with it. For women, I noticed that a majority of white women voted in favor of Donald Trump. And for immigrants, I noticed that 45% of Latinos voted for Donald Trump. So, I mean, read a frickin' exit poll, my friend.
Ben also noted the irony of progressive activists preaching inclusivity while actively alienating conservative women. The message was clear. Only certain types of women were welcome in the movement. Shapiro broke this down, arguing that the woke left's obsession with identity politics often led to self-sabotage, as it alienated potential allies.
Oh my God, he is crying.
For healthcare, for our climate,
Oh, he's so sad. Oh, for science.
for journalism, for justice, for free speech.
Next, we moved to college campuses, where Trump's election win triggered a wave of protests. Students at Ivy League schools hosted cry-ins, complete with therapy dogs and coloring books to help them cope. Shapiro found these responses equal parts hilarious and tragic. He pointed out how these institutions, supposedly bastions of intellectual rigor, had devolved into daycare centers for overgrown toddlers.
And unjust policies that hurt our country so badly.
So in other words, reparations for white people.
I love that Joy Reid thinks she's clever.
Any comments on that, Trump likes?
What the fuck?
My goodness, is she a psychotic? She's an ambulatory psychotic, Joy Reid. Okay, that's not reparations for white people. Okay, what he said is that we are going to find colleges that have engaged in actual racial discrimination, and then we're going to use that for the victims of the racial discrimination, which has been made illegal in the United States under the Civil Rights Act.
Professors joined the hysteria, canceling classes and exams to accommodate traumatized students. Shapiro mocked this coddling behavior, arguing that it didn't prepare young adults for the real world. Instead, it created an echo chamber where emotional outrage replaced critical thinking.
Donald Trump, go away!
Donald Trump, you racist clown!
Another meltdown you won't believe: the media's ongoing obsession with Russian collusion. For years, mainstream outlets breathlessly reported on every baseless rumor linking Trump to the Kremlin. As Shapiro highlighted, these narratives ultimately collapsed under the weight of their lack of evidence, but not before consuming countless hours of airtime.
It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine.
Anything but that.
For NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him.
Nope.
You just don't realize it.
No, I realize. It was awesome. It was a great night.
Shapiro's favorite example? MSNBC's Lawrence O'Donnell once speculated that Trump was taking orders directly from Vladimir Putin. For Shapiro, this wasn't just bad journalism. It was a clear indication of how the media had abandoned its objectivity in favor of partisan sensationalism.
Jimmy Kimmel, the sports guy from K-Rock.
Most of all, it was an absolute disaster of a night for Melania. But it was a really good night for Putin and for polio and for lovable billionaires like Elon Musk and the bros up in Silicon Valley and all the wriggling brainworms who sold what was left of them.
Then there's the left's reliance on identity politics, which Shapiro believes is one of the primary reasons for their meltdowns. When Kamala Harris struggled to gain traction during her presidential campaign, many commentators blamed sexism and racism. Shapiro dismantled this argument, stating that Harris's failures had more to do with her lackluster policies and robotic public appearances than her gender or race.
Let's be clear. The reason she was selected for vice president is because she was a black woman. The reason you couldn't pass over her as the nominee is because she was a black woman. And now you're complaining about us?
You tell me.
Shut your mouth.
That's your fault. You're the ones who set the dumb intersectional woke standard. And now you have to live with it? Oh, poor babies. Oh, so sad.
Shapiro also mocked the performative outrage surrounding issues like cultural appropriation and microaggressions. These controversies, he argued, diverted attention from substantive policy discussions and instead fostered a culture of perpetual victimhood.
A terrible presidential candidate, and then a terrible vice president, and then once again a terrible presidential candidate, and then she lost. That is the story of Kamala Harris. She failed up until there was nowhere for her to fail upward to. I love that. Claire McCaskill. Oh, she ran a campaign where she listened too much to her consultants. Yeah, that was the problem. Whenever there's a bad candidate, it's like, oh man, they listened too much to their consultants that time.
First, we have Hollywood actors lecturing the public at award shows, treating their acceptance speeches as opportunities to bash Trump supporters. Meryl Streep's infamous Golden Globes monologue painted Trump voters as uneducated bigots. Shapiro found this particularly galling, noting that Hollywood elites lacked the self-awareness to realize how condescending they sounded to everyday Americans.
I hope they keep him on air, just because this is the funniest he's ever been, by the way. This mutant playing my tiniest violin for Jimmy Kimmel. Oh, the millionaire's still going to be a millionaire. He's still going to get to live in the abortion capital of the United States, California. He's still going to get to hang out with all of his lib friends up in the Hollywood Hills.
Just forget you ever saw it.
Oh, it's so rough, so rough. A person who can't even write his own jokes anymore. I need that guy to lecture me about the morality of the woke pope of late night.
The Oscars, too, became a battleground for woke meltdowns, with actors using their platforms to decry Trump's policies. Shapiro sarcastically thanked these celebrities for their bravery, pointing out that their moral grandstanding often backfired, further polarizing the country. Another meltdown you won't forget: the left's claim that Trump's presidency was a war on science. Activists marched in the streets, waving signs that read, "Make America Think Again." Shapiro countered these claims by highlighting Trump's actual policies, arguing that while they may have been flawed, they hardly constituted an attack on science itself.
Every woman who's had a fertilized egg pass through her.
Okay, stop it right there. Okay, so he's making several arguments in a row. Number one, you'll notice that he says that the location of the fertilized ova is what matters, right? That once it's implanted, then presumably it is now on its way to becoming a full human life. I've noticed that his standard for abortion is not implantation.
Shapiro reserved special criticism for figures like Bill Nye, whom he accused of turning science into a political weapon. For Shapiro, this kind of activism didn't advance scientific understanding. It merely reinforced ideological divides.
The notion that a spontaneous bodily abortion, meaning your body does not actually carry through the pregnancy, that this is treated the same way as a purposeful, deliberate abortion is very silly.
Finally, let's fast forward to the aftermath of the 2020 election. While Trump's loss led to its own set of controversies, Shapiro noted that the left's meltdowns didn't end there. From outrage over Supreme Court appointments to claims of voter suppression, the woke left continued to spiral.
We saw a sixth consecutive day of protests across the country following the election of President-elect Donald Trump. And one of those demonstrations was on the University of Houston campus. A large number of students marching here and holding signs as they protested outside the library.
For Shapiro, these reactions weren't just entertaining. They were instructive. They revealed a movement more concerned with virtue signaling than addressing the real concerns of everyday Americans. And as long as this pattern continues, Shapiro argued, the woke left will keep losing elections and providing endless material for conservative commentators to dissect.
Full-scale TikTok meltdowns are upon us. Here is just one Kamala supporter having a full-scale mental breakdown.
We may not have rights tomorrow. So I'm going to bed with the last bit of dignity that I have left. But we fought a good fight, and if it turns out that, shit flips, great, hell yeah, but right now I'm just not. I can't deal with this right now.
Her life is not going to change one iota. Just going to point that out.
Do you think emotional reasoning and identity politics are overshadowing facts and logic in today's media, Hollywood, and academia? How can we use facts, logic, and maybe even a little sarcasm to have more honest and productive conversations? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep these honest conversations going.